The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is hump day in the Riv. And right after a council meeting, virtual, and but it's time for Admiral COVID to report.
Boy, I'm getting all these promotions. Yesterday's counts in Massachusetts was 186,774. New cases was 2,264. Total deaths is 10,360. New deaths is 20. Bristol County had 16,397. And the mayor has moved over to video to give us his reports. He still writes them down, but he's now giving us video reports. He says he's going to make weekly videos to do this. Today we saw 41 cases increase, adding up to 3,917. We also saw 2 new fatalities, bringing us up to 151. And I know one of those fatalities, and it was a friend of mine's mother, and she'd been fighting COVID, and it was just COVID. It was nothing else. And she was an elderly woman, and she passed away. And I was sorry to hear that. But this is what's happening.
Yeah, and obviously all these, now we're going video. I don't know why. Now you said something. Let me clarify that because it's a little. You said he's going to make weekly, not daily. So we're only going to get the report once a week now.
On Tuesdays.
Oh,
I'll read you the exact statement. Today's COVID-19 update is a little different. We are going to be making weekly videos to touch base about the status of Fall River's cases, to give some context to our daily case counts. And then he went into today we saw 41 case increase, etc., etc. So the mayor is saying he's going to be doing it weekly. I guess it's going to be on Tuesday.
Well, another platform for politicking, right? You get your puts on the radio, just like you have to watch Gina roll out every Wednesday and interrupt programming.
It's going to be Thursday now. It's going to be Thursday now. Gina Raimondo said that her surveys have shown that people like it on Thursday, not on Wednesday.
Oh well, it has been on Wednesdays,
right?
And now it's on. So it's going to be on Thursday, and Adolph Baker's on, I guess, at his whim, and then we have to put up with the mayor of Boston, and that's right, isn't our mayor friendly with the mayor of Boston?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think so, because he's mentioned him or what they're doing in Boston. And I know every once in a while they interrupt programming on the Boston stations for him to come out and pretend they know what the hell they're talking about when the medical community doesn't even know. But, good news is the vaccine now is up to 95% effective. And I heard another statistic this morning. I don't know if you did, but it's 90-some% effective on people over 80.
Right. 94%.
Yeah, it's actually working on the elderly people who are really the target population. So that's a great, that's great. And, but, again, we're discussing this thing and we're all over the map but what they are succeeding in doing is social conditioning. They're making everybody obey. They talk in Oregon. Oregon, that should break off and fall into the ocean with California and Washington State. But Oregon, the home of Portland, where they had constant riots and murders and they're running around in the streets and the state issued a directive that if you have more than 6 people at Thanksgiving, they can come in and arrest you and you can get 30 days in jail. But you can have 1,000 people rioting in the streets, burning down buildings and attacking people. But nobody's going to jail for 30 days. Nobody's going to jail at all. Nobody even gets charged. And if they do get charged, they dismiss them and let them loose. So there again, there's the problem in our society. We this has become, like I said, this country's become a banana republic. These states are out of control. It's like as a matter of fact, but it may have a positive impact. Maybe all those people from from Guatemala and Central America that were running to the United States because their home was too dangerous, they might go back.
That's true. That's true.
Because what we should do is get them all and stick them in Portland and Seattle, and then they'll all run back to where they came from, and we'll cure the illegal alien problem. So, well, that's but I don't think Biden's going to try that. He'll try it more. But now we've gone to from the ridiculous to the sublime. You want to talk a little bit about the council meeting last night? Because
I was waiting for that.
You know what happened to the taxpayer? Residential taxpayers. Slap that baby around. More money out of your pocket. Okay.
It was very interesting. Last night, the city council addressed the tax factor or tax shift. They don't know which it is, which makes me laugh. Well, from what I was understanding, from what I was understanding from the assessor's office, it was the tax factor. Now, 1.75 is supposed to be the best for residential taxpayers. We've advocated for the 1.75 for the longest time, but this is the first time I've seen the 1.75 tax factor result in an increase in taxes for the residential property owner and a decrease in taxes for commercial property. That's the first time I've seen that happen. And they justified it by saying houses and apartment buildings are all selling at a high rate. And because of that, we're reassessing all property values again in the city and making a midterm adjustment. So it's interesting to see. So I'm waiting for somebody to come offer me $300,000 or $400,000 for my building. And guess what? I'll give it to them.
Yeah, well, again, they're reassessing it, and here we go again. So people out there, viewers, talk to your friends and neighbors, and the next time you see the city councilor, give them the sunflower. Because, again, they're screwing you again. Even though we've got the most supposedly advantageous tax factor, you're going to pay more money. And that's without the addition of of trying to get the override that's coming down the pipe. And why? Well, businesses aren't worth any more. If buildings are worth more, obviously the building that houses a business is worth more. And this is the irony of the thing. Tell your city councilors, stop trying to bullshit us, will you please? How many times have we said on this show, your taxes will never go down, even if your property value stayed exactly the same? We did the study when we did the school, didn't we, CJ?
Yes, we did.
Had how much taxes actually went up over a 5-year period because of what? TIFs and lowering the tax factors for business, because we pay those taxes. We keep telling you that once these things are assessed, once they get a TIF, if their factor goes down, that still has to be paid. And it's paid by you, the residential taxpayer. It's paid by you. It comes out of your pocket. There's no such thing as a free lunch. When they give them no taxes, you're paying their taxes. You and I are paying their taxes. When they give people TIFs, and think about the lunacy of that idea. We got all these great great minds on the city council, real estate magnates and city and town administrators who know all about the tax rates and all about these numbers, but they can't figure out that what they're selling to you is a pile of crap. Because guess what? Reducing the taxes on a business does not help a business survive. It just makes the business owner richer and gives them more money. Because what makes a business survive is customers. That's the way the economy works. You know, pay attention, boneheads in the council. Why do you think everybody's yelling about a stimulus package? Because when people have money, they buy things. And how many times do we have to tell you that that's why Newton, even though it's approximately the same size as Fall River, a little smaller, has 10,000 more businesses than Fall River? It's because the people of Newton have money.
Because they have jobs.
And jobs and money, a lot of money.
That's right.
That's why there's 10,000 more businesses. You can give them no taxes. Well, let us pay it all. To hell with it. Let's pay their electric light bill. Let's give them a street. They're doing that now. There was a recommendation to give a business a street. So let's give them everything for free. Is that going to help that business? No. It's going to help them actually put more money and have a lower operating cost. But they're not going to stay in business if they don't have customers. And most of these businesses they're giving all these breaks to don't even do business in Fall River. They sell their products elsewhere. So do you think it's fair as a residential taxpayer that you should subsidize the richest people in the city of Fall River? The people with the most money. There you are scratching your butt trying to pay your damn electric light bill and your heating bill in the winter. And they're getting all the breaks. And they have the audacity to say that in a council meeting. And your city councilors can't figure this out. They can't figure out this big fact because they're all part of the scam. Because, you know, not too many of them are living on $25,000 a year. They all got pretty good jobs. We got lawyers. We got town administrators making almost $200,000 with a free car. We got real estate magnates. We got all kinds of people on it that don't care. And we definitely do have a class war in this country. This is what's happening on a national level. In Fall River, one of the poorest communities in the state, and we're allowing this to happen. So next November, I hope we have a lot of new candidates for city council, and those candidates are going to run on a platform of giving to the taxpayer first. And as you said on the last show, CJ, these businesses won't leave Fall River. They got it too good here.
That's right. They do. And, you know, I've got to give credit to Michelle Dionne. She went right up to find out what the 1.75 were doing. She got kind of confused, I think, the same way I did when they said that with 1.75, we're going to have an increase in taxes, but the commercial taxpayers are going to go down. And she actually asked that question. She goes, what is the best tax factor for the residential tax factor? And she was told by Gonzalez 1.75. And she goes, but that's going to result in an increase for the residential property owner and a decrease for the commercial property owner. They said, yes, because we've reassessed the values of the residential properties doing a midterm adjustment. Okay. So basically what they said is your house is worth more because we need more.
Yeah, and what they also said is we're gonna adjust your house's value on the Mary Sahadi scale, right, so she can get more money to spend, and we're going to assess the businesses on the Kathy Ann Viveris scale.
Well, that scale may actually be the Paul Coogan scale now, because Paul is all for giving tips and he's all for supporting the local businesses.
But I'm talking about the way they assess Kathy Ann's
no question.
So you're right, and he's all for giving tips. In spite of the fact that he's an educator, And we have produced studies from some of the most prestigious institutions in the United States that says that TIFs actually hurt your economy.
That's right.
And we sent that to the council. So this is all bullshit, okay? This is all to screw the taxpayer. That's why I really miss the studio, because we really need the screw you taxpayer thing to be aired like 10 times in a row when we talk about this stuff. Because every year when we talk about tax factors, there's one end result, that the residential taxpayer gets screwed. And congratulations to Michelle. Michelle always does a good job. But as I said, when I say that, I say it in general terms, because the majority of the council votes for these things. And so what you have to do is do your homework. You vote for people who have tried to protect you and get outvoted. And I think that's a key thing. We don't say that enough. Sometimes we go, especially we start hammering at the city council. But remember, we're talking about what the issue was. So if 5 people vote for a budget that's screwing you and 4 people vote against it, the 4 people who voted against it deserve consideration. And you look at the rest of their record. And if you have to judge people on how they're protecting you, because remember something, they were elected to be your representative, not the business's representatives, the people's representatives. This is our city. Yeah, and if you look at other communities, like I said, if you look at Newton's got the highest rate for businesses. They've never had a problem. You've never seen businesses in Newton go in there and whine, we need a TIF, we need this, we need that. Because guess what? Newton's household income is like 165,000. Ours is 34. Do the math. 34 versus 165,000. That's why they got 10,000 more businesses. Nobody complains in Newton. If you've got a viable business, it's going to do well. And in this city, it's always rob the people who don't have it. Take it from the people who need the least. We have like this government is like it's the inverted Robin Hood syndrome. They don't steal from the rich and give to the poor. They steal from the poor and give to the rich.
Exactly. So,
and
let's just look.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's just look at this year so far. We had a water rate increase that was unbelievable. We've now got a tax increase for a midterm or mid-year adjustment, and that brought our taxes up. It just seems that every time you turn around, we're getting hit with another increase in taxes or fees. Oh, wait, that's nothing new for Fall River. That's what we do all the time. But you, the voter, don't understand. The people that are doing this are your city councilors and your mayor. Those are the people that are raising your taxes. They are doing it because they can't get control of the budget. And Michelle Dionne brought up last night something very, very interesting, that they had talked about an $80,000 overtime line item in the police department. And she thought they had removed it. And Mary Sahadi said, no, they did not remove that money from the line item at all from the budget. That was the money for like the Great Feast of the Holy Ghost, which I don't think we should be paying for. And Michelle said very clearly during those hearings that we could use that money to buy a police cruiser. And she said it again last night, and she's right. That money could have been used to buy a police cruiser. And instead they spent $250,000 out of our free cash to buy 5 new cruisers. I'm not saying that the police department didn't need the cruisers. They did. But wouldn't it have been better if we had taken the $80,000 and used that and, use other line items that we don't have money that we need? And let's use that for replacing those vehicles. And Mary Sahadi then turned around and basically slapped the city council right across the face by saying, well, based upon the amount of line items this year that we haven't used, we probably would have enough to buy more cars.
Well, there you go again. And nobody questions the oracle at Delphi over there because, no matter how many times she lies, how many times she misrepresents figures, and then we see it again. I guess they all have, except for Michelle, and kudos to Michelle. We're going to have to do something about her. She actually makes some sense. But you and I have been against paying for the overtime at the Holy Ghost Feast since its inception, because you know that is a religious feast, and it is a private enterprise. And guess what? We should not be providing free police protection, because then if the witches of Eastwick want to have a time down at Kennedy Park, we're going to have to provide the same thing, because you can't discriminate against religious. So if all the other religions want to begin to have something, then we're going to have to pick up the tab for them. It's wrong from the beginning. But let's just look back at what you just said. Now we can find money to buy police cruisers, and we talked about it last year about rotational. But this should be done on a rotational basis. In years they've been trying to do this, but it's always by emergency. But all of a sudden we find money. She went there. We were broke. We can't afford the health care. It's $45 million. Then it was $40 million, and we agree it's $40 million. And now but we can get away with $38 million. And by the way, I've said numerous times that 150E says you have to fund it, and it should be the entire amount. Well, also 32B says it. And actually, I found a letter that I wrote like 3 years ago to them, and I quoted chapter 32B, where it says the total amount of the health care has to be funded, not a partial amount, as the city contends, and as Sean Kadim says they do in CCON. And if somebody ever sues them, they're lucky I'm no longer the president of the union, because they didn't do this in the old days. But and they did. They didn't tell us. So what they're doing is illegal. But isn't it amazing that after they tried to ruin people's health care, try to go after the people's retirement system and skim from that, when they tried to rob from every conceivable corner of this city and its taxpayers, all of a sudden we got $5 million surplus. We've got money in other line items that we can buy police cruisers. Is that what we're paying our chief financial officer to do? Change the numbers every time they see it? That's not somebody who knows where the money is, because she should have known that we were looking at a surplus, not a deficit. Because if you look at what they were talking about, we went from a $4.5 million deficit, or whether they call it a shortfall or whatever, gap, that was another euphemism, gap. So we went from a $4.5 million gap, shortfall, deficit, whatever you want to call it. You know, a rose by any other name is still a rose, as the bard once said. But the reality is we went from 4.5 in the hole to 5 million to the good. That's a $9.5 million swing. Are you really doing your job when you're that far off? And, and the councilors had better start holding their feet to the fire, because they're complicit. If the only person in the city council that's asking those questions is Michelle Dionne, the other 8 councilors better get their head out of their derrieres. Because how long are we going to listen to misrepresentation of figures by someone who's being paid to know the figures?
Well, what was interesting, you brought up healthcare. We've got about 5 minutes. So was that Mary Sahadi said last night that they are looking at using CARES Act money to pay for some of the health care. And I guess you made a couple of calls to find out about that. And they said that they're looking over the billing to see if it was anything COVID related, and then they will charge it to the CARES Act accounts or whatever. I find it very interesting, because how do you prove that it's COVID related? Okay, the coding maybe, but I mean they don't have a line that says check here for COVID in the billing. So it's going to be interesting to see, because an office visit is just an office visit. So I don't know how they're going to do that, but it's going to be interesting. And as you said, if they're doing that, they better pay 100% of the bill and take nothing out of the employer account.
That's right. And therein lies the rub. You think maybe she took the $2 million out of that $40 million figure that was given by the professionals who said that was what we should have appropriated, because they had already anticipated getting at least $2 million back from COVID associated. But look, Joe Biden's the president now. The Dems want to bail out all the blue states. This is a blue state. They'll probably widen what you can get out of COVID, and they're going to use it as a slush fund. But are the taxpayers going to see any relief because we paid $2 million less into the health care because the feds picked it up? No. Our trust fund will grow because we actually keep the extra money and save it for a rainy day. But the city doesn't. They just blow it. They never have any money. As soon as at the end of the year they got extra money, they siphon it off and use it for something else. And we know that. And they'll be coming after our health care again this year. Is the taxpayer going to see some relief because this city got bailed out financially? Well, I'm going to tell you what. I'm a betting man. I'm betting you're not going to see any relief. I'm betting that you're going to get another tax increase next year. And regardless of what happens, because nobody cares about you. Remember that. Mr. Taxpayer and Mrs. Taxpayer, your city council, with the exception of a few, and do your homework, and we know that Michelle Dionne has really shown herself to be someone who is not afraid to ask the tough questions in her first term. And whether you agree or disagree with every issue, she has shown that she's willing to dig into things, and that's what we want. And it's a sad commentary on what's happening where, like I said, here you go. You got the most advantageous tax factor, but you're still going to pay more money. And that's the end result all the time, every single year. And remember, they told you this a few years ago. Remember when they got in front of the city council, said, listen, tax increases every year is the way it should be. No, I'm sorry. It's not the way it should be. Because remember what Thomas Jefferson said about big government. When a government becomes large enough to give you everything they need, it's large enough to take away everything you have. And that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I agree. Well, while we're speaking about CARES Act money real quick, because we only have about a minute, a letter from Citizens Input came in last night regarding CARES Act money being used at the Veterans Center on Pine Street. And the person who wrote that letter looked at the tax filings of that organization, and a city councilor was the director at that time, which was City Councilor Trot Lee. And it showed that 21% of the money that was taken in by that organization was used for veteran services, and the remainder was used for salaries and other items. So when they gave him $100,000, he was upset, and he said it very clearly. We need to make sure that people are held accountable and that this money is used for veteran services and not for salaries and whatnot. And I agree with them. I think that, you gotta, if you have to scale down your salaries, then that's what you have to do. But again, these are jobs that people get that are paying big money, and the money's got to come from somewhere, and this money comes from the taxpayer, and that's what always screws us out big time. So I can't say it enough. And obviously, the writer of that letter was right on point. And I have to say, the city council's finding out that we're not playing games anymore, slow but sure. We are on top of this, and we are on top of them. And when we're looking at what they're doing, they understand that next year, and we should be starting this now, next year, when the election time comes around again, you're going to be in trouble if we're going to fight against you. So remember that, because maybe you won't get the votes that you want. So, well, it looks like we're out of time. Great show. Thanks for watching. Remember, stay safe, stay angry, and wear a mask. Have a great day. Thanks for inviting us.